Welcome to Geeks from the Multiverse podcast. We got an awesome episode for you guys. We're going to be reviewing some terrible movies. And when I say terrible movies, I actually mean really horrendous, horrible movies that probably nobody ever should watch. And we're going to be reviewing them in this episode. What I don't want you to do is grab your notebook and write these titles down because nobody needs to watch these. But without further ado, let's get geeky. What's up, John?
What's up, Matt? So
We've been watching some really horrible movies.
yeah, these movies, granted, some of the movies that I've chose, I haven't watched in a while, but I do remember how stupid and just some of the hilarious things that they would talk about in these movies. But I think before we get into the movie side of the things, I think we want to mention a couple things first. So we're going to preface this, right? So, yes, we, of course, a little bit ago, we talked about how we're going to be more explicit and whatnot. But if you also hear random noises that come out, during the podcast, so if maybe you hear a baby cry, maybe the waters run or a fly buzzing around or whatever, really, right? So if you might
Yeah.
hear us, drop our drinks or something like that. Again, we're not in an ESPN studio. We don't have, soundproofing techniques. We're basically two dudes in a room, talking with one another. So if like you hear stuff like, I'm sorry, but it is what it is, and we're trying to do our best. I mean, if we get more people and we get more support, and if we actually have, let's say, money, to be able to do that, I mean, sure, I would love to get a room specifically so that we can actually record and have a safe, spot where we could do it and have it more soundproof and everything else. But unfortunately, that's not the case, right? Because unfortunately, I had a baby, a little while ago. He's almost 3 weeks old, which is crazy.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, he was born on 9/16, just so you guys know. So
I
it's
mean,
crazy.
he's almost ready to move out, and
No, man. Like
get
that's
a job and,
I mean, hell, if that's the case, with the amount of crying he does, maybe he could give me a job, or maybe he could start supporting. But I guess the other thing is too is that you know we just want you guys to know that we have been a little bit busier. We've been trying to like keep up with all this stuff too, but hopefully moving forward we can actually have a chance to be able to do more recordings, get more things going because we both are unfortunately pretty busy. Again, having a newborn, having I know Matt had unfortunately had some issues. We don't have to go into details, but just some things going on, and it's been a real life struggle, and it's been one of those things that we can't really control, right? So at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we're trying to do our best. We're two dudes, right? We've already talked about that, but we're doing our best for what we have. Again, we're not millionaires. We're we don't have these like these fancy things. So without further ado, actually, nope, I lied. There is one more thing.
Ay, ay, ay.
Matt doesn't want to talk about it, but we did want to mention because we did mention that we have football jerseys, so we do have it on our merch store. But Matt and I a few weeks ago decided to join this fantasy league team, and so or this league, I should say. And so, Matt, why don't you tell me? Why don't you tell the viewers what ranking are you at right now?
Well, I mean, so far I've only won one game. And that sounds really terrible, but my team's not terrible. You know what I mean? So like I think it just goes with how fantasy football is this year where I could most of my team is like tier 1, tier 2, but when you have issues with, your quarterbacks on these teams and you have, one of the guys that I have is Jamar Chase. And I picked him up first round, first pick. He's well worth the pick. But when you have a quarterback like Joe Burrow, who,
Oh, don't even get started because that's who I chose at first.
yeah, he's not throwing the ball.
He's getting injured. Actually, believe it or not, I feel like this year there's been a lot of people getting injured, like a lot,
Yeah.
like too many to be exact.
So Jamar Chase isn't getting the ball, and then you have guys like Jamar Chase, and then you have these random Puka Nakuas and Nico Collin guys coming up out of thin air, getting 30, 40 points a game. And it's like, No, no. Can you go back to where you were, and can the guys that are supposed to get 30, 40 points like start producing?
Well, I
Because
mean, but a lot of these guys are rookies, so it's really good that they're scoring a lot. I mean, for example, this one guy, Devon A Chain, right? So he literally
A
scored
Chan.
A Chan. Sorry, my bad. He's a rookie. Okay, give me a break here. So the point is like this guy got 60 points, literally, I think 2 weeks ago, and because it was
Was that the 70 point
yeah, it was
Dolphins game?
yeah, so it was considered the second most highest point game of all time because the first time I think it was back in I think it was the Dolphins or something like that back in the early 70s, and they did it, and they had 72 points. So they were 2 points off from doing it, but that's pretty amazing that they did it this
Pretty
year.
amazing. I mean, to get 70 points in a game, anyways, is pretty amazing.
Oh, I know, and that's what I mean. So, like, this guy, 60 points, I mean, I picked him up immediately after. I was like, "Yeah, I gotta get this guy immediately." The second week, I think he got, like, almost 30 points. So, I mean, like, this guy's a rookie. He's a running back. I mean, this guy's doing a great. I mean, there's a lot of guys like Tyreek Hill, another good guy who's been getting it. I have a few other players that I've been looking at, and I'm like, "Hey, you know what? Let's pick these guys and whatnot." I mean, even the defense, like I chose Dallas Cowboys, which is technically the number one defense right now in the league, and I was surprised at first when they had the defense. So, I mean, Matt, you know what? Because he's not going to explain. So, Matt, right now in his rankings, he's fifth. Okay. Now, granted, he was almost last place. There was a
I
time.
well, last week I was seventh.
Well, right. That's what I mean. He was
Yeah.
almost last place. Now Matt's going to say, "Well, John is a cheater, and he is magically, is actually I am in first place. I actually will admit I have been really really lucky. I don't know how I've been in first place for literally. This is now week 5, so I've been at least first place the last 4 weeks. Which the very first game I played, I honestly thought I was going to lose, and I somehow miraculously won it. And there was only one time I lost because in our league there's a league median. So basically, if you don't have enough points to beat it, so in this case, this week, it's 166 points. So right now, where I'm looking at, I'm probably not going to get that league median because of the amount of points that everybody has to get in this league right now, because all of them are like 160 and above that they have to get, right now. But like it's crazy because there were some weeks that it was so low, it was so easy to get. And
That
then,
was last week's.
well,
So
yeah, like
at
last week.
the end of the week, it'll start climbing again once. I mean, once tonight's game goes, it'll probably be like 12.
Well, I mean, and it's
But
funny.
at the end of like Monday, that's when that league median will hit that final number. But usually it's about like 165 or whatever. But yeah, if your points are under that, you automatically get a loss. If your points are above it, you automatically get a win.
So you get really 2 wins out of 1 game. So, like, I've
Or
only
2 losses if you
right,
and that was, I got one of the weeks I got 2 losses, which that's where my 2 losses come from.
right,
But the other 2 weeks I only got 1 loss because I was over that median. So that's
right.
where my other, my
Right,
other 2
losses.
losses come from. So
Well, I mean, and like I said, originally, like, every week that I've been doing, like, I've only lost 1. I've won every single game. I've won every single time, but the issue is I lost 1 time because the median I was actually lower than the median, but I'm pretty sure that reason why was because Matt was actually the first. It was last week. Was it last week?
yeah, I won last week.
Yeah, he had the number 1.
No, I lost last week,
Oh,
but
you
it was
lost.
the week
Oh.
before.
Basically,
Yeah.
he had the highest amount of points in the league, which I was surprised because that's actually the most I think I've seen so far. 208 points was how much he got at that time, which I was like, man, that's ridiculous. But like I said, with this fantasy football league, it's my first time doing it, and I can tell you, it's stressful, man. Like
It's risk or reward. You run the risk of, do I play this player, or do I pick up somebody, or do I play this player?
yeah,
And it's that risk or reward, like if you play a player, like, I'll throw it out there like Amari Cooper, and then, like last week he had 3 points. He's the one who killed my team last week because I probably could have pulled out a win had he had gotten more. But
well,
he literally got 3 points.
I think I'd say the 2 biggest issues that I have personally, it sucks because one is when they're on a questionable status because you really don't know if they're going to play or not. So you have to like really strategize and make sure like you have some good bench let's say running backs or wide receivers or something like that. So you have to
Yeah.
have a pretty good team to know, like, okay, can I switch this player out for somebody else?
Well, you have to know the questionable status too, because sometimes the questionables, like right now, my Devonte Adams is on questionable, but it's only because the Thursday is a rest day for the Raiders have a Thursday veteran rest day.
Oh, okay.
So when they don't practice, automatically they get a questionable tag because they didn't practice, but it's because that team does a veteran rest day.
Right. And I mean, like, so I have one guy named Kyron Williams. Like, he was on a questionable status, basically saying that, what was it? Something I think it was like his hip or something. But basically, he's working through it, and I guess he's going to be able to play this Sunday. But another big thing that drives me insane is the um is knowing, like, which defense, or like not really defense, but like knowing which weeks are the buys. Because if you don't know which weeks are the buys, that's what's really going to screw you up. Because if you don't understand, like, okay, well, for example, like this week, the Buccaneers I know aren't playing. Like, you know
Well,
what I mean?
that's
Like that.
I mean, that's the number that's next to them. So it'll say,
Well, no, I understand that, but
yeah,
like, sometimes like you have to know which team really is having that buy, because if you don't, then you look at that the
yeah.
following week and you're like, well,
And
crap. Now
that's really where you draft, like if you draft really badly, there were certain people in the waiver wire that I really did want to pick up, but I didn't pick them up because a lot of them have the same bye week as the people that are on my team already. So like if I picked up like a third wide receiver and replaced, you know, Amari Cooper, and I had somebody on like 7 or 9, then I have Jamar Chase, Devontae, and this potential new guy all on a bye in the same week. So it's like, well, who do I play? Nobody, because they're all on the bye.
well, that's the problem. It's like, and then you have to look at like some rookie that you may or may not know is actually going to do well or not. But like that's the risk and reward factor. I mean,
Yeah.
because like, at the end of the day, I was looking at my bench and I was like, okay, I need one quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and then the defense, because then I could switch them out. But I realized that at the same time, you really it sucks because you really
Yeah.
don't know either way.
I spend so much time like listening to podcasts, going into fantasy pros, going into fantasy nerds, going like there's so many different like little things that I go like Roto Baller and like all these like little tools that I'm going into, and they're all saying the same thing. So I run with that guy and then he gets 3 points and I'm like, well, what the heck?
Well, see, this is why I
Like,
don't
come
spend. That's why I
on.
don't spend as much time. I just literally look at the trending. I looked at like some of the leader stuff. I try to get as many players that I can get for that week, so I can be like, okay, you know what, yeah, you know what, and it sucks because I'm number 8 when it comes to waivers. So really, if I wanted to change anybody now, it's like it's a Hail Mary because
Well, you're
I don't
number
know.
8 right now, but it depends on who else puts waivers in.
Well, and that's
Like
the
if
thing.
if mine go through tonight, then I'll probably go all the way down. So you'll probably move from 8 to 7 tomorrow.
Oh, the one place because nobody else is going to do it, and like the first person in our league for waivers is probably not going to be playing anymore. So I don't really know. But anyways, we dive
Yeah.
way too into this, but let's get into the movie reviews, Matt.
So yeah, one of these movies, it probably was one of the very first ones that I saw, and this one is on Amazon. I actually watched it the other night, and to say it's terrible is probably like the understatement of the year. It's really horrendous, and this movie, and I want this to sink in. It has 8. There's 8 movies. It's not just one singular movie. There are 7 sequels to it. And the movie is Evil Bong. It came out in 2006, and believe it or not, it actually has a 38% on Rotten Tomatoes. How I mean, I guess if you're going to give it a score, you might as well give it something, but I don't think it deserves 38.
No, unfortunately, I have not seen this movie, but I mean, if it's literally a 38, I mean, I would say anything above probably like an 80 on Rotten Tomatoes is probably worth your time watching. But if it's like basically anywhere 50 and below,
Yeah.
it's not even worth your time
No,
watching.
it's not. But I mean, it being above 20 is giving it some credit. And this movie I mean, the only credit this movie has is that Tommy Chong is in it.
I mean, that would make sense, especially because of it saying Evil Bong. But
Yeah.
it's funny how, you have to get people like that. So I'm surprised Snoop Dogg didn't make an appearance or something like that.
I'm sure at some point he probably does. I mean, there's 8 movies. So there's 8 different sequels. So the very first, Evil Bong movie, and this is the actual description. Terror strikes when slackers lay their hands on a bong from the 1960s.
So hold on. So
That's it.
So the fact that this bong has been around since the 1960s, and they decide, hey, we're gonna
I mean, it's a bunch of like college slackers. Why they're in college is beyond me. Because
so was Tommy portrayed as a college kid?
In the entire movie, there's no college being done except for the kid that moves in. Which the kid that moves in is like a nerdy, geeky kind of kid.
So, well, my question is how did Tommy come into play? How did like Tommy Chung come into play?
He was the original owner of the bong.
Of course,
because his ex-wife is the one who sold it to these kids.
Oh God, that. You know what? That makes sense now.
Yeah. So Evil Bong is the first one. So I'm gonna read all of these off. This number 2 is King Bong. The alternate title is Devil's Harvest. Number 3 is Wrath of Bong. Number 4 is just Evil Bong 420. I mean, it's really original, right?
Yeah, really original.
The 5th movie is Evil Bong High Five. I don't know. They get kind of the same numbering as they go on. So number 6 is Evil Bong 666. Number 7 is 777. Can you guess what number 8 is?
8. How did 8 eat 9? Like what? Like
888.
Oh wow! So like, this just reminds me of that Jaws like commercial, or not the actual like trailer for like Jaws like 19 or whatever.
And there's a spinoff, John. Ginger Dead Man versus Evil Bong.
What? I'm not. You know what? I'm not even going to ask. I mean,
so in the movie, there's a ginger dead man, which is it's essentially who the character is. There's a whole side series of movies which would probably make it on this list of terrible movies. But he's in these movies, and they did a spin-off set of movies with the ginger dead man.
So basically they're part of the same universe.
Yes.
Okay.
So like I said, Tommy Chong is probably the only star within this movie that anybody would really recognize. And I guess, I mean, the only thing I would say about Evil Bong is like, if there was a level of high that's above Cheech and Chong, that's how high you would have to be to really enjoy this movie. Because there's really like no redeeming quality of this movie that is interesting. Like, it's really just not a good movie.
I just look at it as, why would you ever create a movie? I mean, you know what? I'm not even going to ask that question, because I know why they created it. I mean, clearly they're just like, you know what? We're just going to make a really spoofy, unoriginal, I was going to say piece of crap, because basically, if they had to make 8 movies and then they had to basically use like for each like 4, 5, 6, whatever, like they have to like, 420. Oh, let me get a high five,
high five,
666.
666, 77.
It's like, how could you?
What do we call number 8?
Well, 888.
888,
It's like High Bong 888. That's like, what?
So these are actual reviews from Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm going to read them word for word. I'm not changing anything of these.
Oh boy.
Not evil enough of a bong for my liking.
Okay. Like, how evil do you want this bong to be? Like, that's just me.
Why does this exist? Like, honestly, I'm so confused, man. Who sits down at a table with their coworkers and goes, let's make a movie about an evil bong that possesses those who smoke from it And everyone at the table goes, "Yeah, sounds good. Literally a disgrace to mankind." That is like the best review right there. Best movie I've ever seen. The story was great and the effects were awesome. How high was that guy? Like
I did. I I mean, he must have been really
the
high.
story was great and the effects were awesome. Yeah, I don't think so.
No, I agree with you, Matt. I mean, honestly, I don't know where you would go with this one.
This movie is perfection. They smoke out of this weird ass bong and get sucked into it. What's inside this bong? A strip club. I don't think I have to say much more.
I, you know, I don't know what to say, Matt. I mean, this movie, you know what? I think I should just watch it because I feel like I really kind of need to at least understand the first one. I don't need to watch all eight. I think I just need to watch the first one to really understand what's going on here. God,
Oh,
I could say that these movies are going to be really interesting to talk about because I'm going to go with mine real quick. So this one, I kid you not, this one I actually had to tell Matt about, and he didn't believe me. And this one, it's called Thanks Killing. Okay, it's literally about a possessed turkey terrorizes 5 college students during Thanksgiving break. Okay, so he literally carries a knife, like a kitchen knife, basically. And his, I kid you not, his catchphrase, this is his legit catchphrase, is "gobble gobble, motherfucker." Like, but he says it, and it's really funny because it almost sounds like Freddy Krueger, like that, like really deep, kind of demonic. I don't know. It
I
sounds really weird, but it's like he's like gobble gobble, motherfucker. And it's like I don't know how to describe it. You'd have to kind of see what I'm talking about.
it's really hard to fathom. Like how does a turkey even hold a knife
You know,
to begin with? Like
I don't know.
it doesn't make any sense to me.
He doesn't have human hands. I mean, he's got turkey hands, so I mean, he's got claws. so
And if he's holding the knife, how is he walking around? I just don't get it.
so
It's one of those movies that like you kind of like I guess watch it and you're like I don't know what's happening.
so I can tell you just by looking at like the cast members, like who was originally a part of it. There's no one famous in this movie. Like absolutely.
That does not
Hold
surprise me
on.
one bit.
What's best about this? Ready? So on IMDb, it's rated at 4.2. Ready? On Rotten Tomatoes, it's rated at 42%.
Wow.
It got higher than I bonged. So
It got higher.
and the best part is there's not only one, there's 3 movies.
Wow.
And it's Thanksgiving, it's Thanksgiving 2, and then Thanksgiving 3. So like they didn't really have any original ideas
No,
with this one
no.
either. But it's funny because I think so the second one I think came out in like 2000 and it was like 2009. So it was like first one came out in 2007, 2009, and then the third one came out in 2012. I can tell you the first one. So like looking at some of the reviews, I honestly I think it's crazy that a lot of people said that this is one of the best like Thanksgiving like killer turkey movies of all time because this guy
Are
says,
there more?
well, no, I don't know because like for example, this guy writes the best holiday themed movie about a homicidal turkey ever made.
Are there more homicidal turkey movies that we don't know of?
I literally it. I don't. This guy said you just got stuffed.
Wow.
And it was like a 7 out of 10. I mean, they go. I mean, some of these reviews are like really, really long. I'm not gonna go in like full detail, but like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
guy wrote, "Gobble gobble." Somebody drank too much wild turkey because this movie is really stupid. So like, and they're saying like all these like turkey-tastic. I mean,
Turkey-tastic.
turkey-tastic.
Love
I
it.
mean, I've seen worse. Like
Oh, I've seen worse and I have worse
I
on
mean,
my list.
it's
Yeah.
just right here. Like this guy wrote 1 out of 10. He says, "White meat, dark meat, we all lose." Like,
Oh.
like ooh.
Oh yeah.
And then this guy writes, "Seriously?" Question mark.
Seriously.
I mean, I don't even want to begin, but like this movie is literally an hour and 10 minutes. It's an hour. Honestly, and it's funny.
It's an hour and 10 minutes you'll never get back.
Well, that's true because it's so. I'm looking at the content rating. So it's like it says sex and nudity moderate, violence and gore is severe. Yes, that's no.
Mhm.
Yeah, profanity severe because this guy's
Severe.
even the turkey's swearing.
Oh,
There's
the
mild
catchphrase, yeah.
there's mild alcohol, drugs, and smoking,
Wow.
and then frightening and intense scenes is mild.
Oh, okay.
Which when I did see it originally, I will admit, I don't know if it was,
I mean,
Thanksgiving, if it was, like,
tur
Christmas time, but, like,
turkeys are petrifying to look at, though. I mean,
I mean, this
if there was one running at you with a knife, I would be pretty scared,
I
to be honest.
I will admit that this movie, when I first saw it, we honestly just put it was on Netflix for a while, and I remember watching it with, it was my dad and a few other people, and we didn't really know what it was, so I think I just put it on as a joke, and I just wanted to see how people reacted, and so we're watching literally the whole movie, and when he says, "Gobble, gobble, motherfucker," it's like, "What?" Like, did the turkey just talk? And I was so confused, and then we just thought it was one of the funniest, like, what am I watching right now? Like,
Yeah.
literally, you wanna talk about high bong? I mean, you might as well just, like, figure out if you're really high in this moment and, like, watch this movie
Yeah.
because it'd be
I
the
don't
same
know.
thing.
Yeah, I don't know. So, what's funny is, like, the rest of the movies, except for the very last one I have, all score higher on Rotten Tomatoes than that movie does.
Really?
Yeah. So then the next one I have, and actually for what it is, and as horrible as the movie is, I actually like this one because it does remind me of one of the kind of classic movies, and this movie is Attack of the Killer Donuts.
So I know you and I think you mentioned this one, and I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, so, like, I forgot. Did the actual donuts, like, actually talk and, like,
They don't talk,
swallow
but
people, or like what do they do?
they do actually have teeth, and they do actually eat people.
So my question is like, well, first of all, if it has a mouth, okay, or if it has teeth and whatever, it has a giant hole. So what is it doing? It's just chomping and it just goes
Yeah.
right through them. Like,
It,
I don't
I'm
understand.
assuming, yeah. I haven't seen it in a long time, but uh, they're basically just chomping on people.
That makes zero sense.
It makes zero sense, but for what it's worth, like it was entertaining. Like it's not a good movie. None of these movies are like we're not saying any of these movies are good movies, but it's entertaining because what this movie kind of reminds me of is that old school the Killer Tomatoes, Attack of the
Oh
Killer.
yeah,
That's kind of what it reminds me of, except that this one's just donuts. So this one came out in 2016, and it actually has scored 43% on Rotten Tomatoes. And this one, the only star that I think people would maybe recognize is C. Thomas Howell. That's the only one that I think people would know.
yeah. I mean, depending on if you're a movie buff,
Yeah.
if you know who that is.
So this movie is a chemical accident in a sleepy town turns ordinary donuts into bloodthirsty monsters. Unaware of the donuts' danger, Johnny, Michelle, and Howard sell them to unsuspecting customers. When the donuts start eating their victims, the only way the three friends can save their sleepy town is to track down the killer donuts and destroy them.
I don't know which one's worse, High Bong or this one so far. I mean, this one just seems really stupid. Like, I don't even know where to begin right now with that.
It's really one of those things, like you're watching horrible effects because like the donuts are, I almost want to say like they're not CGI. I almost want to say like they're basically like they're practical effects, and they're like almost like claymation in the way that they move. Like they're kind of hopping around on surfaces, and they're jumping, and they're you can kind of see their teeth, and they're chomping, and it's really really cheesy. Like when if what you're thinking in your head is exactly how it looks. It's exactly how it looks.
I can tell you right now, I really don't even want to watch this movie. Like, it just so I forgot. When did this movie come out again?
2016.
Oh my god!
Yes.
And you would think that they might have had like better effects. You know what I'm saying? Like, or at least
It's all about the budget, and they didn't have it.
No, I mean the fact that it was 2016 and it's basically claymation. It's like you haven't used a little. Think about the last time claymation was really used.
I think they did use some CGI in the movie, but it's not like Disney level
Well, it's
CGI,
not like
or
Lucasfilms or like, yeah, something like that on that level.
if you saw 80s level CGI, this is like probably the level that they're probably using in this movie, but it's really terrible CGI. Like, it's not good,
I,
but the movie is entertaining.
you know,
It's not good, but it's entertaining.
I don't think it's entertaining, man. I think it sounds just really stupid. I mean, I feel like everybody, like what we just talked about, a high bong, like literally about high bong, and
The
so like
evil bong, yeah.
the evil bong. So like the fact that so basically a bong that comes to life and kills people, and then a killer turkey, and now a killer donut. I mean, do they? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there a theme? Did they all like meet up one day and they're like, you know what, we're just gonna create like the really
Well,
stupid movies?
there was a chemical spill.
No, I understand that, but like, I don't know exactly how the killer turkey really came to be. I mean, it
Yeah,
was
I don't
just
know.
like randomly happened, but
The chemical spill is what turned the donuts into like these bloodthirsty like monsters, but it didn't change them from donuts to like, having arms and legs. They still somehow moved around.
but what, they rolled around? I mean, like,
No, they actually like
they bounced.
they bounced around, and they moved around.
Like I said, man, I don't know about this movie.
So actual reviews, these ones come from Rotten Tomatoes, and they're not like, film people. These are like real people reviews. Hands down, the best worst movie I've ever seen in my life. From the terrible acting to weird CGI fang donuts, I was in hysterics watching this. If you like bad B movies, then this is for you. No, not a bad review.
No, I guess. I mean, it really depends on if you like those B-rated horror films. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it just doesn't seem appealing.
This is the best movie I have ever watching. I am in tears. 10 out of 10 if you want to see what it is like to be on crack.
Like, really?
I'm not changing any of the words, so this is exactly how they were put on this website.
I
If you want to see what it's like to be on crack, just watch this movie. That's what he's saying. All right, so the last one, a hilarious movie based on actual true events. Donuts ended up eating all the cops in a very small town, and laughter is good medicine. I don't know what to
Again,
do with that
I
one.
don't know. No, I don't honestly agree. And like I said, I will probably never watch this movie. I just don't feel like it's worth my time. But go on.
None of these movies are worth anybody's time.
No, of course not.
Especially the next one I have, John.
Oh, the next movie?
Surprisingly, when I looked this one up on Rotten Tomatoes, John, I wonder if you could guess the score.
I'm gonna go with a 60.
64%.
Okay, I wasn't too far off.
And it's one thing for it to be a horrible movie, but when you look up this movie, and I'm not suggesting you go and look up this movie, but when you look up this movie and then you go over to videos and you look at where the source of those videos come from, the source of most of the videos all come from adult sites. That tells you right away that this movie is not very good.
Well,
And-
it's pretty sad that it has to come from those sources and not anywhere else.
And the thing is, like, the scenes aren't. I mean, some of them are pretty graphic in the way that they're portrayed, but they're not. I would say they're probably not like porn level bad.
Oh, okay. So it's not like terrible.
What they're doing in the scene is grotesque, but it's not like you're watching what's on those sites. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. You could easily watch them on YouTube without them being where they are. You know what I mean? Anyways,
Yeah.
so the movie is called Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead.
And again, I know you and I talked about this.
Well, we did.
I just didn't fully believe that they made a movie literally about was a ghost chicken, basically.
So I'm going to say the name of this again. Poultrygeist,
Right. So like a
Night of the
poltergeist.
Chicken Dead. So the description that I pulled off of Rotten Tomatoes was Some fast food workers discover the restaurant they work in is built on an ancient burial ground, and the chickens they cook are trying to kill them.
I
So
no.
there, I think that there's like a couple things that are going on within the movie. So one, the chickens that they get in in this movie, um, they hatch some kind of a weird egg, and so the chickens are all like, um, they all have like a some kind of a toxic.
Are they like weird colors? Like, does it like distinguish like it's like a normal egg, right? So it's not like a yellow yolk or something like that. But I would assume it's like something completely
I mean,
different.
from the images that I saw, there was almost like a toxic waste or something. Like they looked really gross.
Also, like rotten.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they go ahead and they like cook all the they cook the chickens and they sell them anyways. And then what ends up happening is the people in this like little town. So not only are like the chickens are trying to kill 'em, but people are turning into chicken dead. Like the people themselves are turning into chickens, and they're coming back from the dead. Like they have beaks, they have feathers. Like it's such a weird movie. Like I can't even like seriously, like this is like the worst movie. I only saw clips of it, but let me tell you, the very first clip of this movie, very first one, when you click play on this movie, the very first scene in the movie is a guy and a girl. They're in like a cemetery. You can imagine what they're probably doing. And they're getting hot and heavy doing their thing. And he's on top and they're like, kissing, making out, doing their thing. And this hand comes up from the ground right in between his legs,
Oh God.
and you just see like the rest of the fingers go down and one finger
Oh no.
sticking up,
Oh no.
and the hands now pointing at this guy's butt,
Oh no.
and in goes the finger, and the guy doesn't even move. Like he just keeps going.
Why? Matt, that just
And he immediately start like, and then he turns around, the hand breaks off, so the finger is now stuck inside of his butt. You can't make this stuff up. It's just.
Oh my God.
And then he pulls it out, looks at it, throws it on the ground, and then keeps making out with the girl. And it's like, dude, you just had a dead finger in your butt. Like,
Like you couldn't make
shouldn't this
up.
be a problem?
I mean, I don't even want to watch it. I mean, the fact that in the first scene alone, or at least in the trailer, like that's
I
pretty
mean,
bad.
it sucks on every level, dude. Like, there's nothing redeemable about this movie, like at all. Like, they took like gore and like let's make it as gory as possible. Like that's what they did with this movie. Like I want that person's eyeballs to pop out of the head. Okay, let's do it. I want this person, like every possible gory thing that you could put in a movie, it's in there. Like every disgusting, vile thing that you could possibly put in a movie, it's in this movie. Like there's no possible like description that I could give that makes this movie like redeemable in any way.
Matt, just you describing that one scene was
Why it has 64%. I would rather have Attack of the Killer Donuts have 64%. This one should have like 5.
I think this one, yeah, or maybe a -20. I mean, I don't know what you can rate it, but it no.
So, actual reviews. This was one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life.
You don't say.
You don't say. I don't even know how to describe this film except wow. And then the last one I have, to everyone who enjoys this abomination, you are either incredibly huge gore fans or had a full frontal lobotomy at some point. This piece of indie movie garbage doesn't even qualify as so bad it's good. It qualifies as so bad it's complete and utter garbage. This film is an insult to schlocky B films as a whole.
I
That one I think I completely agree with.
I think I agree with you on that because I've never seen it and I choose not to see this, but that it's no.
Nobody should ever watch this movie. I'm telling you, like, if you're taking notes, which I know you are.
Someone is out there. Yes.
Someone out there is like, I'm watching this tonight.
You know what? Please do it. Why don't you give us a review on it? Because
please do. And then when you message us saying that you're blind, don't blame us. Like,
I mean, we warned you. I mean, we even said that
when you say you're traumatized for life and you'll never get over it, we warned you.
Well, not only that, I mean, we've already said in the very beginning, we don't recommend watching these movies. So you can take notes all you want, but like, don't blame us.
I've seen some doozies, and granted, I'm not going to watch this movie. So I've seen some doozies in my life. Like, I've seen some really, really like crappy and tremendously like weird movies. This is not one that's on my watch list, to be honest.
No, I mean, honestly, Matt, you already know this, and I'll just tell the viewers, I'm not a big horror person. So I actually don't like horror, like games or like movies or anything like that. I don't like doing that because I get paranoid. If I watch a certain movie or something like that, like I literally go ballistic when it comes to like paranoia. Like, so if somebody like knocks on the door and like in the middle of the night, so like, especially some of those games like you play, like, so if you play like The Last of Us and you're playing that at night and somebody knocks on the door and like, I would scream like a baby, or I would be like, you need to get out at night. But no, like for real, like I don't like it. So like some of these movies, I mean, it might be funny to watch, but like I don't want to watch them at night. I'd rather watch them during the day. So I'm not like, ooh, who randomly pops out of my door and be like a peeping Tom or something.
You got another one?
I do, and I think you might have seen this one. So
possibly,
I think you have. I think it's a more well known B-rated movie. Okay, and it actually came out in 1988. Yep. So Matt, let's see, if we had to do Matt's age here, I'm kidding. He was alive during this, but I was not. So yes, we're gonna go there. So the movie is Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I have seen this movie, and it's a very much of a cult classic. So you better be careful with what you're saying, because we're gonna have some hate coming our way if you're not careful.
I know. So it's believe it or not, it's rated PG-13, which I'm quite surprised. Because I mean, back then I could imagine that because they probably didn't have a whole lot of rated R movies like that. But I was surprised because I would have felt like that would have been a rated R.
I mean, there's not really anything I think with the movie itself that's really like tremendously bad.
No, I mean, like, so like, just kind of look at some of the clips. It's like, the very first scene that are like some of the trailer things. It's just this guy like talking trash to this one clown, and he just like sucker punches him right up in the uppercut in the face. So it's kind of more of a comedy,
Oh, it's definitely
more
comedy,
of a comedy.
yeah.
So like, there's like two people, I guess, that were, I would say probably more known probably back in the day. So Grant Kramer was one, and then Suzanne Snyder. So like these two were, kind of the main, characters in the movie.
Yeah.
But like, basically, it says right here, when teenagers Mike and Debbie see a comet crash outside their sleepy small town, they investigate and discover a pack of
Why are all these towns sleepy small towns?
I don't know, but hold on, it gets better. So they investigate and discover a pack of murderous aliens who look very much like circus clowns. They try to warn the local authorities, but everyone assumes the story is a prank. And then meanwhile, the clowns set about harvesting and eating as many people as they can. It's not until they kidnap Debbie that Mike decides it's up to him to stop the clown's bloody rampage. So like that's the preface of the movie.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to me that, this movie, like, now I'm not gonna lie, I don't like clowns. Like,
they put him in like these like cotton candy sacks.
Yeah, and it's
and then they stick these like curly, like the curly Q straws inside the inside the sacks, and they suck out all the.
I mean,
all the blood and stuff.
It kind of reminds me of more of a parody on It. like the look of them, like you know what I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the, more of
yeah.
like that kind of
I
style.
mean,
So
it definitely. I mean, I think at the time, obviously, because the movie had just come out, like it didn't have a cult following, and in the '80s and '90s, it was, you know, it would have been in that classification of like this is not a good movie.
no, by any means. I
But
mean,
now it's got such a cult following that like people, I think, look past like how bad the acting is and how bad some of the effects are, and I mean, do I like this movie? I actually do like this movie.
so
Like it's for me, it is a classic. Like I actually do like it.
so believe it or not, it actually for the score. Okay, so on IMDb it got a 6.2. Rotten Tomatoes it got a 76. So
That's not
it's
bad. Yeah,
pretty impressive for a B-rated movie. Right, so, like, I was surprised that it got so high, especially because of the cult class. I think that's probably why, is because I
I
think
think it's
more
just
people
because
watched
yeah,
it.
I think just because of more people are watching it and more people like are just fans of it in general. Like the clowns are really iconic.
Oh, yeah.
Um, you know, there's really no. I mean, you really can't touch it. Like as far as like you can't remake it because I mean it's just
Well, they
it's
tried.
a classic.
They tried to remake it, but I guess there was some kinda legal and financial issue regarding the second, making of the movie, because I think they were trying to do, like, a 30-year, time frame. So I think it would've probably came out in, what, 2018 probably, if that was the case? So, like, they would've done that, but or, like, maybe a little later, um, but they never did it because of that whole
I
reason.
mean, it would
But
be interesting. You would have to create a whole new story though, not like
well,
do like a reboot.
well,
Like
I don't it's
although we do love rebooting stuff in this new world.
especially DC, no. No, but they were trying to do that, and I looked it up, and I think it was supposed to be like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, like 3D, and I guess it was supposed to be like, I guess more like a better version of that, but like, basically saying like, hey, it's 30 years later, they come back out of nowhere, kind of do that
Yeah.
whole thing, but like, I don't know. If you actually wanted to watch a silly movie that's B rated, I would say I probably recommend, if you like this kind of stuff, I would say maybe watch this one.
This one would be one that we would recommend because I mean, this one's. I wouldn't say it's terrible. I mean, I would say my wife says this one's terrible.
Well, I no offense, Danielle, I wouldn't agree with your answer, but I mean because
Um,
it just depends on if you like this kind of stuff.
I mean, I don't know the kind of stuff Allie's into, but I would say she probably wouldn't.
Allie would look at this and be like, "What the hell are you watching?"
Right.
Like that's
So
probably how
she,
Danielle would be as well.
yeah, yeah.
Because if I
If
watched
I
it,
was watching it, she'd be like, "What the hell are you watching?"
what stupid shit is
I mean, that's
this?
what she says anyways when
I
I'm
mean,
watching TV.
that's
So
true.
generally,
So, like the reviews, real quick. So, a lot of them, believe it or not, a lot of them have been 6 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10.
that doesn't surprise me.
It says one even said a creative B minus movie, and deadly funny. I know bad when I see it. Not a single boring minute in the entire thing. You know, thank you.
Well,
It even says thank you MGM. So like this guy's thanking the studios, but
yeah,
like B movie royalty is another one. Funny and original silliness like this. It goes on and on, but I mean it's crazy that because of its
yeah.
cult following, how popular it's now
Oh
become.
yeah. I mean, it's so. I mean, I think one of the iconic scenes that I remember the most from this movie is one of the clowns is doing like shadow puppets on the wall,
Oh, of course.
and I mean, they're just kind of like they start like really outrageous because they only have like maybe 3 fingers and they're really huge. So like you really can't do shadow puppets with like 3 huge like fingers.
Right.
They have clown hands. Like they're huge hands. And they're doing these really like like the dog and the bird and like really intricate shadow puppets on the wall. And he does like this huge T-Rex. Like it looks like a T-Rex, like the actual dinosaur with the little tiny
Oh yeah, I
arms.
know. I know what you're talking about.
And the T-Rex comes out of the wall, and the people that are standing right next to the wall that are watching these puppets, Like it goes down and it eats them.
What? Like that's weird. I mean, what I also didn't know real quick is that they actually made. Did you know they made a game?
I did not know that.
They apparently made a game. It's also on Steam.
Huh.
So I'll show you real quick because it's right there. It says it's on Steam.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
if you, I guess if you watch the movie and you like it so much, if you know what Steam is,
Now you can play the game.
you can play it on Steam if you feel like. It's up to you. But
All right. So I have a couple more. And my next one, John, I think a lot of people have seen this movie, but not a lot of people know what it's called. Because
well, that doesn't make any sense.
I've mentioned this movie to a lot of people, and they go, "Oh yeah, I've seen that movie," but not a lot of people know what it's called. And the movie is called Rubber.
So, well, you again, you and I have talked about this, but I know it's a really, really stupid movie. I know that for a fact.
It is a really stupid movie, and it has really virtually no story. It came out in 2012. It's got a 46% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the description on Rotten Tomatoes is a homicidal car tire named Robert has destructive psionic power. It said it sights on a desert town, and a mysterious woman becomes its obsession.
Hmm.
So this movie is like, it's really so basic and really stupid, but for some reason it is kind of captivating in a way. I mean, you're literally just following a tire. And the movie kind of has two sides to it, because there's a group of people that it goes back and forth between Robert, who's the tire, and
The fact, hold on, before you go on, the fact that they had to name the tire Robert, like it couldn't
it's
be
the main
anything else.
character.
I'm just saying, like the fact that the tire's named Robert, like they didn't, they could be like, oh, it's Billy Bob, but like no, it's Robert. Get it right.
Yeah. So you have Robert, who's going through whatever journey he's going through
As a tire.
as a tire. And then, it kind of goes forward to these group of people, and, they all have binoculars, and they're all seemingly like watching Robert. Like, I don't know why. I don't know if it's really explained, but it's like they're watching the same movie we're watching, except they're there, like in person, watching the tire. So you have like, you have this, like, I guess, fourth wall, if you want to say it that way. Like,
So
you have
like,
these people who are watching what we're watching,
so basically like Deadpool, like in that fourth wall kind of dimension.
except Robert, I think maybe towards the end of the movie, does actually find them. So
Like the
I
people
think,
watching.
yeah. So I think that there is like an interaction with them, but it's just, I guess it's when you just have a tire and a camera, you kind of get
I mean, you want to talk about being high. I mean, like that's on
you
another level.
it's like, I got a tire, I got a camera, I can make a movie with this.
Wait, when did this movie come out again?
This movie came out in 2012.
And let me guess, is there any CGI whatsoever?
I don't think that there's CGI, but there might be like practical effects, because he does like blow people's heads off, because he has like that psychonic power. So it's like, he turns to face like whoever he's using the power, and like like I said, he literally blows like people's heads off their body.
Huh. I that to me just doesn't sound like to me it just sounds stupid. Like I don't know, like you know what I mean? Like
It's a dumb movie. I mean, there's really no explanation of how the tire became Robert.
right. I mean, was he a human that got transformed into a tire? Like what like
There's really no explanation. So some of the reviews, not a spoiler, this movie didn't really have a story or anything. It was just kind of like you'd expect. A tire rolling around and somehow killing people without an explanation. Dumb movie.
Yeah. I mean,
P.S. Whoever wrote these other reviews, I don't know what they were smoking, but pass that shit to me. LOL.
I mean, literally, I don't understand, but okay.
You'll understand once I read them.
Okay.
The best movie ever. Steven Spielberg could not do a better job. Last night, my son took off all the tires of my car and burned them, afraid they would kill him.
What? Like you like a legit? Okay, you know what? I'm not
You know,
even gonna go further
yeah.
than that. But yeah, okay.
Beats Godfather 3 and all the Star Wars prequels.
What?
Fun movie. You'll be disappointed if you were looking for a real thriller. After all, it's an evil tire.
I can't. I really can't with these reviews. That's bad. No, man. Like, if you're saying that's better than Godfather 3 and the prequels, like of Star Wars, like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, come on.
No, that's a
Come on.
no-brainer. But I'm just saying.
It's an evil tire.
No, I mean,
That's the name Robert. I mean,
I mean, that's why I had to ask you. Like, his actual name was Robert. I mean, like,
yeah, his
they
name
couldn't
is
have-
Robert. Yeah,
They couldn't make a new name, but
but that's where I think like everybody kind of knows the movie, but they don't quite know the name of the movie.
I mean, at
'Cause
first,
I've talked to a few people about like this movie, and a lot of people do know about the movie, but they just don't know like the name of it. So it's an interesting movie.
okay. Well, out of the ones you've already mentioned so far, would you actually watch this one?
I have actually watched this
Oh,
one.
you have. Okay.
Yeah, I have actually watched this one. Um, it's interesting, but I mean, it's is it boring? Yes, it's boring. There's not really a story. Like I think the first review was probably like the best review out of all of them. Like, there's not really a story. It's like a tire. He literally gets up out of the dirt, starts going down a road. A car beeps at him. He turns around, blows the dude's head off, head right off his body. He keeps going. He finds a girl, follows said girl. Some guys like try to like mug her or whatever. Like, he intervenes and does what he does. Like, that's pretty much the movie. It's about this stupid tire following this girl. Like,
listen, I
that's
just
the movie.
I just don't understand.
I gave you the
really-
spoiler.
I
Sorry, I just spoiled the movie. So
I
whatever.
mean, if you really want to watch it, whoever's taking notes, just go ahead. Just go ahead and watch this one. Why don't you watch Killer Clowns and then you watch this
Yeah.
one too while you're at it?
So the very last one, I'm going to throw this one out there because my wife was the actual one that that when we were perusing through Amazon, we came across this title. And I went past it and she goes, whoa, wait, you should play that one. And I turned and looked and I go, what? And she goes, I just want to know. And I go, okay,
If you want to know.
if you want to know.
Okay.
So this movie, and
Go ahead, man.
has-
What is the name of this movie?
it has the dumbest name ever. It's called The Thingy.
I can't. Like, I mean, the fact that I know there's more to this title, but
Oh, there is more. But The Thingy is in big letters when you see the picture of it. It's just The Thingy. And the rest of it is Confessions of a Teenage Placenta.
that is the most dumbest name I could ever imagine for a B-rated movie like this. I mean, literally, The Thingy and the Confessions of a
The
Teenage
Thingy.
Placenta.
Yeah.
Like, why? What? Who? First of all, whoever the director was and the writers and all this, they probably had to look at this and be like, you know what? That's a great name. Like, you would
Thingy.
have had to be out of your right mind to be ever thinking that was a good movie name.
I mean, they probably created this placenta thing and they were like, what are we going to call this thing?
yeah, Thingy.
We'll call it a thingy.
Not
That's
an actual
great.
name, but just
Yeah,
the Thingy.
I mean, I think the actual placenta's name was Luke, but that's
Oh no,
besides
no!
the
Don't
point.
tell me it had a name.
Oh, it
No,
did, it did.
no,
It did have a name.
no, no.
So if the name of the movie did not clue you into how terrible the movie was, Rotten Tomatoes does not have a score or reviews available for this movie.
I mean, that says a lot.
That says quite a bit, actually.
The
Yeah,
fact that they weren't willing to watch it,
it's on Rotten Tomatoes,
but they're not willing to watch it.
but there's no reviews and there's no score. So the movie is a female bodybuilder gives birth to a living placenta and decides to raise it as a human, a Christian, and a soldier.
What? That is what? I know, man. Like that's no. I think this is probably the worst one you've said so far. Easily. I thought the others were bad. And like this one is probably the cake.
I mean, this is bad. I mean, there's no story, there's no plot, and
I mean, the fact that you
the
said
movie moves so slow. Like in the first like hour, I don't think it's a full 2 hour movie, but like however long this movie is, it feels like 9 hours because there's just nothing happening.
My question is with the description, the fact that this woman wanted to raise it as a Christian, what was it, a soldier? And what was the other thing?
Well, raise it as a human, a Christian, and a soldier.
Oh, a human, a Christian, and a soldier. Okay, first of all, why would you ever raise one as a human? I mean, granted, yes, I understand the placenta, again, having babies and so forth, like they turn into an actual human being, but like, you're going to raise it as a Christian, okay, and then you're going to somehow turn this thing into a soldier.
Well, see, this was the weird thing because one, the female bodybuilder was actually a transvestite, and I think I have the word right, which is a male in drag. That's the correct word, right? Transvestite? I think I have the word right.
I'm not particularly knowing of said terminology, but yes.
It is a male actor in female clothing.
Okay.
That's playing this role as the placenta's mother. In the movie, we're supposed to think it's a straight female, like it's a regular female. But
the question is, can you
this person does not, and I repeat, does not look like a female.
The question is, does this person have a beard or anything that's distinguishable?
No, but you can clearly tell that this person is not a female.
Okay.
And not only is it a male playing a female, but in the movie, she gives like birth. Like we're supposed to be like believing that she's giving birth to a baby, pushing it out. Like it's showing, like it's not showing down below, but like, she's opening the legs and like she's pushing. Like the baby comes out and then the placenta plops on the floor. They pick up the baby, throw it in a garbage bag, and then they take the placenta and wrap it in the blanket. And of course, Danielle and I are like, what is happening right now? Because normally it's the opposite. Like you keep the baby and then you can choose to keep the placenta because in some cultures, like they do cook it and eat it. In some cultures, that's what they do.
I mean, yes, I do agree that they do that, but
in this movie, it was completely opposite. They were going to cook the baby and eat it and then raise the placenta. But this was happening all in a gym. Inside of a gym.
No. Like
it was happening in a gym. There were other people watching.
This person giving birth.
Mm-hmm. There were other people in the gym watching, and the female bodybuilder only works on one arm. So one arm is really weirdly muscular, and then the other arm is normal. This movie has so many weird things to it.
No.
The actor that was playing the mother of this placenta was wearing like almost looked like a plastic like breast thing, because like she goes to take it down and like puts the placenta up to, the fake. It looks fake
So basically, this person is basically breastfeeding.
breastfeeding, and the little placenta has an eye, it has a mouth, and then eventually in the movie it grows a hand.
No, I no.
It goes to school.
Why? Why?
Like it sits, like legitimately sits at a desk in a school.
I want to know what
And
I got to look at what this actually looks like.
and if that wasn't enough, the placenta has its own sex scene in this movie.
No, I mean, no. That's okay. You know what? This don't, please, for the love of God, when it comes to who's ever writing this down, do not watch this movie. This sounds just like a terrible. There's a reason why Rotten Tomatoes didn't want to watch it.
It's really, really awful. I mean, I don't want to judge a group of people, but this movie is Belgian, and I don't want to judge Belgians, but like, if this is the kind of movie that they're making, I I don't know, man. Like,
I mean, I just decided to look at the pictures for this, and no.
they're awful, right?
Oh my God. Like that this is definitely wow. I don't even want to begin. Like, I mean, I'm even looking at the person that is playing the mother. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can definitely tell
You
that
can definitely tell.
no. Like,
So it's definitely not a great movie. And where there were no reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, there were reviews on IMDb.
of course there was.
So here we go with the reviews. This is the most insane film ever created, plain and simple. There is no functional or objective way to review this film. The closest thing I can compare it to is being on peyote.
I mean, you know what? I mean, just looking at those pictures, I'm like, that is ridiculous. Like, I can't even.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
I'm not sure what to honestly say. I'm really at a loss for words, but I'm at a loss for words. That was part of the same review. I watched this whole movie and was just as disappointed. It seemed kind of funny at first, but just got boring. Nothing happens. Lack of a soundtrack, and it's just overall horrible. Feels like it lasts 9 hours. I hate it. The only reason it even gets a 1 is because it was kind of funny in the beginning. I'll never get that time back.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah. I mean, looking at the pictures alone, I mean,
That's pretty much exactly what I said.
no, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like, looking at the pictures, I mean, the mother, the placenta, I mean, the placenta just, that was enough for me to not want to even look
Yeah.
at this movie.
Glad I found this movie. I've often wondered how difficult it would be to raise a placenta. Luke was a very moody one and difficult to get along with.
So you were right. I mean, I guess his name was Luke.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this by far is the worst movie I'd ever seen.
I
There's literally no redeeming qualities for this movie.
agree.
This movie is just depressing with no likable characters and is just weird. And this is coming from someone who loves bad movies, just like Battlefield Earth and Street Fighter. Avoid this movie.
Man, I think you got me beat because this is the last one that we're going to mention, but this one actually is another popular B-rated kind of, I would say more of a cult classic now. Okay. So it's a series, and I think you'll understand what I'm talking about when I say this. Leprechaun.
Ah.
So it's funny because I know this movie has also been mentioned in Wayne's World because it's one of my favorite scenes from
Leprechaun.
He's like, I'm the evil leprechaun. And they were just like, stop it. I'm the evil leprechaun. So he kept saying it. But it was funny because like that was from this movie. But so the series, but we'll start with the first one. It's called Leprechaun. And basically,
What?
yes, this is what the title is. And there's actually 8 movies, which I did not know.
You got me gold.
I mean, I know he rhymes too. He's a very
Oh, yeah.
rhymey kind of character, but like,
I personally love the one where he's in the hood.
yes, that was one of my favorites. And it was funny because that was way later. That's like 5 and 6 is like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last 2. So I will say this. So I'll start off with the very first one. So with the IMDb rating, it was at 4.8. Okay.
That seems low.
Well, hold on. On Rotten Tomatoes, it got a 27. for the
Wow.
first hold on, for the first movie. So there's of course there's more after this, but
Oh, there's a ton.
oh yeah, so I'll explain them. So the very first, so this is a description of the first movie.
Another one that's getting rebooted.
Oh yes, hold on, it gets better. So the very first description of this movie is Dan O'Grady steals 100 gold coins from a leprechaun
Not good.
while on vacation in Ireland. No surprise. The leprechaun follows him home, but Dan locks the murderous midget in a crate.
Wow. That's probably why it got such a low score.
No, hold on, it gets better. Held at bay by a four-leaf clover. 10 years later, J.D. Redding and his daughter, Tori, rent O'Grady's property for the summer. When their new neighbors accidentally release the leprechaun, he goes on a murderous rampage to reclaim his gold. So this movie originally came out, oh wait, the year I was born, in 1993. It's an hour and 32 minutes long. So the funny thing about this is like every time I've watched it, it's so weird like to watch this like this leprechaun. I mean, because I know like folklore in general, like when it comes to like the creatures themselves, I mean they're
Yeah.
not really they're kind of mischievous. They trick you. They if you find them and you get their pot of gold, you give them like wishes, so on and so forth, kind of like a genie. But like this one just goes on like a totally different rampage of how they describe like this character in general. So like the top cast like members that I saw. So in the original one, Jennifer Aniston was in the original Leprechaun, if you guys don't know that. And then Warwick Davis, who was also in Harry Potter, I know that for a fact. He was one of the professors.
And
He
Willow,
played
right?
right. I think it
Yeah.
was Willow too. Yeah. So he played the Leprechaun in the original, like in
Yeah.
all the series. There isn't many people that I see that were like famous actors. I know Jennifer Aniston, of course, was like, "Why did I do this movie?" Because I mean, granted, back in the '90s, she was very popular and whatnot. But of course, she was like, "Oh, well, I'll just do something stupid." Yeah, well, that was one of the mistakes that she ever made.
Well, I mean, now, I mean, those Leprechaun movies have a pretty
Well,
big, like,
yeah, that's
cult
what I'm saying.
following now. Yeah.
It's a very big cult following. So like, so I'll go on before the reviews. So there's 8. Okay, so it goes Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun 4 in space. Okay,
Oh,
in space now. Hold on, ready?
in
Here's one of our favorites. Leprechaun 5 in the hood.
in the hood.
In the
I
hood.
love that.
Yeah, that
one,
one's
man.
and then
Yeah.
there's the second one, which is Leprechaun 6 back to the hood.
Back to the Hood.
And then what they do, which I didn't know this, is they have Leprechaun Origins, which came out in 2014, and then they have a Leprechaun Returns in 2018.
I did see that one, I think, on Amazon.
So, and a lot of these a lot of them were like, so let's see, 4.6, 5, 3.5,
They're probably about all
3.7.
the
Yeah,
same,
so
yeah.
so they're okay.
They're not.
To-
I mean, they're not great movies.
I mean-
if I'm being honest, like they're not great.
But I think the one back to like in the hood, like that was the funny one. I think that one and
Yeah.
the second one for that. Like they do a funny job. I mean, it's kind of funny how like this leprechaun literally like in like the hood, and he's just like killing people, like basically gangsters, just like going up and like having rhymes, and he's like, "Oh, what's up, man? How you doing?" He's like, he's rhyming and doing all this shit, and then he like basically, I don't know what does he actually use to kill people?
Well, it's
don't-
magic. So I mean, he's
so he,
using
like-
like
oh,
the,
yeah.
the leprechaun magic. So it's different for everybody.
I mean, but like these films,
But I mean, that's why that's half of the reason why you're watching the Leprechaun. I mean, maybe beyond like the first one, and maybe even beyond the second one. Like you're watching it more for the character than you are for the horror aspect of it.
Well-
It's almost like like the Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like the original Nightmare on Elm Street was a straight up horror movie.
oh yeah, of course.
But as you get to like, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Part 4, Part 5, Freddy's Dead, like you get to those,
It's more comedy.
there's much more comedy and you're watching it for Freddy.
Well, yeah, of course. In that moment, because you're just getting to know the character in the very beginning in the first 3, and then like moving forward, it's more like, okay, well, how did they get?
You're really just watching it for like what kind of outlandish thing is he going to say? Like how is he going to kill the next group of kids? Like that's initially like why you're watching it, and that's just probably the same thing with Leprechaun is like what kind of like hijinks and things is he going to be doing in this next movie? Like But they're, I mean,
yeah,
they're rebooting a whole new
of course they are.
Leprechaun movie. I mean, I think what is it? Game of Thrones guy.
Oh, dang it, I don't. I know who you're talking about. I don't. I'll have to look that up in a minute. But so some of the reviews. Okay, so this one says, well, at least this series gave Warwick Davis steady employment. Like it's true.
That's true. Yeah.
He said this one says, forget about Willow. So that's good. It says, some of them are like, I'm still laughing on the floor. I want me gold.
I want me gold.
And then let's see. Another one that I just saw actually was kind of funny. I think it actually is one of the quotes from the movie is, "Hey Tubby, you got a light for an old leprechaun's pipe?" So it's just like that one. It says at the rainbow's end. So like a lot of them, they're saying it's like 6 to 8, and then some of them had like 3, 2. So like again, if you like silly comedy movies like this, I mean this is another good one to like. If you're, I guess you're bored and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna watch something really stupid and funny.
Yeah. I mean, some of them aren't as good as others, but like, obviously with any of the Leprechaun movies, like you're watching it for the Leprechaun character itself. Like if you're looking for a good horror movie, it's not the Leprechaun.
No, by any means. I mean, when Matt and I said that, what was it, Leprechaun, to the hood, like, and back to the hood, like
those ones were honestly like the best
funny.
ones because of how he interacted. And most of the one, I think both of those had like rappers in them. Like they had pretty good rappers in those movies. So like,
actually one of them, I don't know if you know this guy, Paige Kennedy.
no,
He does like a lot of comedy bits. Like he was in the second, like Back to the Hood. I'm trying to see in the original, like in the hood, if there was anybody like noticeable. Oh, Ice-T. That's right. Ice-T was in this. Yeah.
Ice-T, yeah.
I don't see anybody. No, I'm not seeing it. I would say Ice-T is probably the more notable, person in that. But I think it's in the very beginning of that movie where he like confronts him and like he's like I think he's a pimp in the movie or something like that. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "Well, I'm a I don't know if he's like, I'm gonna be the king bitch or something. I don't know. He's like the king boss or whatever." And he's like, whatever. And he like just makes him disappear or whatever. And he becomes like the kingpin or something like that of like the crime, whatever. I can't. It's been so long since I've seen it, but like he becomes like the main boss of that whole area. But like going through these movies, guys, I really do pray for you, because if you really think that any of these movies are worth your time, some of them might be, like Killer Clowns, Leprechaun, that kind of stuff. Thanksgiving, no, please don't. Like that's just a dumb movie if you want to watch it. But like Rubber,
yes. I mean, some are worse than others. Like there's, I don't know the actual name of the film group. I know it's Trauma. It's like Trauma Group or something like that. But Trauma is who makes a lot of these movies. Like they obviously didn't do The Thingy.
I pray to God not, because that was easily one of the movies. No,
I do believe Evil Bong is part of it, and I do believe possibly Poultrygeist is part of it. But Trauma has like, it's maybe like a film studio, or it's a guy that basically just he puts out like all of these movies. So most of these movies that are like horrible, like horror comedy type movies, they're Traumaville type movies. Like that's where they come from.
I think Matt and I can agree that The Thingy is probably the worst B-rated.
I don't know.
Film.
Poultrygeist is right up there, though. I think Poultrygeist is worse, and I think
that's worse.
I think Poultrygeist is worse, and I think The Thingy goes right underneath it.
I'm honestly going to disagree. I think The Thingy is probably one of the absolute worst.
Why don't you go watch Poultrygeist, and then you tell me how bad that movie
you know what?
is.
Listen, I'm not going to watch either one. I'm just saying, from what you described, I'm saying The Thingy and Poultrygeist are... you know what? I'm going to say this. I think they're tied. I think they're right at the same level of, why did you ever want to create a movie that was just that bad? Like The Thingy just clearly... like goes to another level, but like Poltergeist, I mean, when you described that hand, I'm not going to repeat it, but basically, when you described that scene, I honestly was like, no, this is not something I ever want to watch.
Yeah,
So please don't, for the love of God, for when it comes to anyone listening, don't watch those 2 movies. Are not the ones you want to be watching. Those are the ones you want to be like avoiding.
But if you do, go on your Amazon Prime membership.
That's if you have one. But yeah,
go to your Prime Video, look up Evil Bong, and then go, movies like this, and you will find all of these movies. You will go down this huge rabbit hole of all these movies that are just like this one. A lot of the ones that are just like the ones that we've talked about. I mean, there are literally thousands of these types of movies.
Oh yeah, no, hands down. I mean, it's
easily.
It's not even just like those movies we talked about. These are the ones that we just found probably more funnier and actually just like ones that we would want to talk about. But like Matt's saying, like there's, of course, like in any genre, there's thousands of movies.
There's so many. Yeah, there's a ton. But anyways,
so guys, we appreciate you guys listening. Again, we appreciate the support. We're working on trying to get more episodes and more things. Again, our lives have been busy, but we're trying to do better with that. And again, merch store, baby. Like, it's football season. Guess what? We have a jersey.
Get your jerseys. And thank you for the people that have ordered. I know somebody, a lady at my work who's actually caught up on all the episodes, which is weird.
Well, that's cool.
She's binged all of our episodes.
Oh, that's cool.
That's amazing.
I mean,
but she actually bought 2 of our shirts.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, and actually recently Matt and I, well, actually it wasn't recent, I guess it was a little while ago, we signed a piece of merch, which was technically the very first piece of merch I ever bought. And it was from one of my old bosses. I'm just going to say last name, Boucher, good for you. I'm glad, we signed it.
Bobby Boucher?
Bobby Boucher? No, he's not Bobby Boucher. But I'll say this, it's interesting enough that you guys have been, doing this. You've been supporting us in that sense. I know Matt has bought some stuff. I'm slacking. I'm sorry. I also just had a newborn. So it's I'm really rough on the
I've only bought a couple stuff, but I do want to thank the people who have bought stuff. And, we do have our merch store, that has stuff on there. And I am hopefully, going to be working on getting some holiday stuff in there.
Yes, because watch out for Thanksgiving. Oh, no, sorry. For Halloween and
watch out for
Christmas.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. No. We're not doing Thanksgiving. Sorry, guys. So we're doing Halloween and we're doing Christmas. So again, watch out for the Halloween stuff. And then especially for Christmas, guys. I mean, if we're going to be coming up with some cool stuff, so hopefully when, you're looking at Christmas ideas and gifts and like nerdy things that you guys want to look out for, again, if maybe we make an ornament, I don't know, maybe that's a popular thing. We'll have to kind of agree on that, but we'll see. I mean, there's other ideas, there's different logos and stuff. And you know what? Maybe, just maybe, we'll find out if we can do maybe some different themes for different episodes as well moving forward.
Maybe a Christmas bikini, John?
Okay, you know what, Matt? On that note, let's end it right there. So guys, thank you for listening. Until next time.
Stay geeky.